On August 31, 1997, Diana, Princess of Wales, died in a car crash in a tunnel in Paris. She was 36 years old. But the most disturbing story about Diana is not what happened in that tunnel. It is what the British establishment did to her in the years before it. The surveillance, the phone tapping, the systematic briefings against her to the press, the stripping of her title, the isolation, the deliberate destruction of a woman who had become more powerful than the institution she had married into. By the time Diana died, the British royal family and its allies had spent years trying to neutralize her. And then the crash made her untouchable forever. Diana Spencer married Prince Charles in 1981 in what was described as a fairy tale wedding watched by 750 million people. She was 20 years old. Charles was 32. What the public did not know was that Charles had never stopped loving Camilla Parker Bowles. Diana later said she knew on her wedding day that the marriage was a sham. She said there were 3 people in the marriage from the very beginning. Throughout the 1980s, Diana struggled with bulimia, depression, and self-harm while presenting a flawless public image that made her the most photographed woman in the world. She received almost no support from the royal family. She was not a member of the family to be supported. She was an asset to be managed. As Diana's popularity grew and Charles's public standing deteriorated, the palace began a systematic campaign to undermine her. Senior royal aides briefed journalists that Diana was emotionally unstable, difficult to work with, and mentally unfit for royal duties. These briefings were conducted anonymously and denied publicly. MI5, Britain's domestic intelligence service, had been monitoring Diana's communications for years. This was confirmed in 2004 when former MI5 officer David Shaler stated that the security services had a file on Diana and had monitored her phone calls. In 1992, Andrew Morton published a biography of Diana that revealed the true state of her marriage and her isolation within the royal family. What the public did not know was that Diana had secretly cooperated with Morton, recording hours of candid testimony on tape that was smuggled out of Kensington Palace. The palace's response was immediate. Royal aides briefed journalists that Diana was paranoid, manipulative, and had fabricated her experiences. The same institution that had ignored her suffering for a decade now publicly questioned her sanity. In 1995, Diana gave a bombshell interview to the BBC in which she discussed Charles's relationship with Camilla, questioned whether he was suited to be king, and declared she intended to be a queen in people's hearts. 23 million people watched it in Britain alone. The palace was furious. Within weeks, Queen Elizabeth wrote to both Charles and Diana, instructing them to divorce. As part of the settlement, Diana was stripped of her royal title. She lost her automatic right to royal protection officers. She was being systematically removed from the structure that had both imprisoned and protected her. In the months before her death, Diana had become increasingly politically active. Her campaign to ban landmines directly embarrassed the British government, which opposed the International Landmine Treaty. Senior government officials privately complained she was interfering in foreign policy. She was also in a relationship with Dodi Fayed, which further alarmed the establishment. On the night of August 30th, 1997, Diana and Dodi left the Ritz Hotel in Paris, pursued by paparazzi photographers. Their Mercedes entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel at high speed and crashed into a concrete pillar. Dodi and driver Henri Paul died at the scene. Diana died in hospital several hours later. Henri Paul's blood alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit. He also had traces of prescription antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication in his system. How a man in that condition came to be driving one of the most famous women in the world through Paris at high speed has never been fully explained. A British inquest concluded in 2008 that Diana's death was caused by grossly negligent driving by Henri Paul and the pursuing paparazzi. But the inquest also confirmed several disturbing facts. British intelligence had been monitoring Diana. The palace had conducted a systematic campaign to undermine her. She had been stripped of her protection and title in the year before her death, and the man driving her car had unexplained connections to French intelligence services that were never fully investigated. Whether Diana was murdered or died in a tragic accident, the story of what the British establishment did to her in the years before that tunnel remains one of the most disturbing examples of institutional power being used to destroy an individual who had become inconvenient. She was surveilled. She was briefed against. She was stripped of her title and her protection. And then she died at 36 in a tunnel in Paris. The question Diana's story forces you to ask is not whether powerful institutions are capable of systematically destroying a person who threatens them. The question is whether it matters how she died when what they did to her while she was alive was already so devastating.